I'm so excited to speak with everybody today about nutrition and immunity, and also small lifestyle shifts beyond food that we can implement to really make sure we're keeping our bodies strong, protecting ourselves against the common cold, everything. So we'll go through a few things here. All right, we already did a nice introduction, so I'll skip that slide there. So today we're really going to talk about how food can help build our immunity powerhouse. And it's a pretty relevant topic considering, the past 2 years has been the COVID-19 pandemic, plus peak cold and flu season. I feel like, it's so easy to get sick when the weather is going from hot or warm and cold and all over the place. So today, we're really going to focus on the key role diet plays in building that powerhouse, the top 4 immune boosting nutrients that you should be including daily in your diet. And I'm also going to give you really specific examples of what foods contain these nutrients and how to easily include them into your diet. So I'll be giving some sample like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack ideas for each of those categories. Additional lifestyle factors beyond food that play a key role. And then at the end, we'll have time to answer any questions. So feel free to enter those into the chat box. So let's jump right into it and learn just kind of a quick summary. I won't get too scientific and nerdy over here, but a little bit about how our bodies really fight and work to protect us from getting sick. And so in order to stay healthy, you need an immune system that's going to be able to attack harmful bacteria and viruses, as well as abnormal cells when needed. So when I think of my body fighting off colds and flu, the first thing that helps me kind of visualize it is to think simply as my immune system as a giant Pac-Man, and it's chomping up all these bad invaders that enter our body through germs. So while there are certain cells that do just that, our immune system is actually a lot more complicated and a much more complex system. It's made up of immune cells, antibodies, receptors, and organs that really all work together to protect our body. And there are many factors that contribute to a strong immune system. There's sleep, there's alcohol and tobacco use, there's exercise, travel, environmental factors. But a major factor is really the foods that we eat and the nutrients we supply our bodies with. Every stage of the body's immune response, it actually relies on the presence of certain micronutrients and minerals that are found in food that our bodies don't make naturally. So we have to find them from external sources of food. A healthy diet that's filled with a variety of these foods and nutrients that we're going to talk about in this webinar today, it can proactively allow our bodies to have that ongoing nutritional support so that our immune system can function at top speed. And also as we age, our immune system naturally declines. But if we're eating a healthy diet that's rich in these nutrients, it can slow that decline of our immune system. So we can be proactively boosting it, and we can also be proactive in slowing the decline. So let's break it down even further. I'm going to be discussing those top 4 immune boosting nutrients that you should be eating every single day, as much as possible. You don't have to stress about it, but within reason. And actually, when you see these lists, you'll realize it's actually pretty easy. It's in many of the foods that we incorporate usually. So zinc is the first one that I'm going to start out with. Zinc is an essential mineral that our body cannot make itself, so we have to obtain it from our diet. Zinc's main important roles when it comes to strengthening our immune system, it maintains the integrity of certain cells that actually control immunity. It also is responsible for the activity of more than 300 different enzymes in our body. It's required for protein and DNA synthesis, important for wound healing. It supports normal growth and development during childhood, adolescence, and pregnancy, and it ensures the proper functioning of our senses, such as taste and smell. So if you notice, when you get sick, a lot of times, or with COVID, some of the symptoms were losing taste and smell. So zinc can help with the proper functioning of these senses. Studies have shown that people who are deficient in zinc are more susceptible to infection, and zinc has also been proven to reduce the duration of the common cold. I can personally say that I notice a huge difference when I feel a cold coming on. If I immediately start boosting foods in zinc, or if I take like a zinc lozenge, the length of my colds are definitely reduced, and the severity of the colds I find are much more reduced. As it relates to COVID, researchers from Spain, this is one study, found that people who were admitted to the hospital with COVID had lower levels of blood of zinc in their blood. They tended to fare worse than those who had healthy or normal levels of zinc in their blood. And so in terms of how much zinc do you actually need, again, we don't have any specialized zinc storage systems in our body. So that means we really have to try and consume it as often as we can. So some of the recommended amount that we should be having, you don't need to worry too much about it. I'm going to show on the next slide examples of how much you need to eat to get this amount. It's not a ton. You don't need to be eating like 30 cups of spinach every day. But so adult women should be aiming for 8 milligrams. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, that should be increased to between 11 and 12 milligrams. Adult men are 11, and ideally you want to try not to exceed more than 40. So let's take a look of top 10 foods that provide zinc and see how you feel you do in terms of incorporating these into your diet on a regular basis. So oysters. So 6 oysters, which is not a lot at all, provides 52 mgs of zinc. So I know I get a lot of questions about, oh my gosh, if I eat 6, am I going to have zinc toxicity? So with oysters, if you're eating 6 oysters and when you're out one night, that's totally fine. If you're eating 6 or more oysters every single day, it might lead to some negative health effects, such as your body having difficulty absorbing other nutrients, specifically copper and iron, because they all compete for absorption with zinc. But if you have 6 oysters one night, you are completely fine. But if you are having it more regularly, I'd reduce the amount of oysters that you're having. Other foods like chicken leg, pork chops, lentils, oatmeal, tofu, low-fat yogurt, hemp seeds, shiitake mushrooms. So these, if you want to take a screenshot of this slide, we'll do this for the other nutrients as well. This can be a nice, just kind of reminder of, okay, what of these do I incorporate already? Awesome. What foods do I really like, but I just don't incorporate that much of, and how can I start incorporating them a little bit more? So this next slide, to see specific examples and how easy it can be to incorporate those top 10 zinc boosting foods into your diet. Breakfast. So oatmeal can be such a super easy and filling breakfast in the morning. You can even add some hemp seeds on top to boost that zinc level. For a snack, you could do yogurt. Again, sprinkle in some hemp seeds, or maybe make a trail mix with hemp seeds included in there. For lunch, you could meal prep a large batch of like a lentil salad or a lentil soup. If you aren't a meal prepper, I really love the Annie's brand of lentil soup, or Dr. McDougall's, both really good lentil soups for just a quick, easy lunch that you can heat up. For dinner, as your source of protein, aim for pork chops, that chicken leg, beef, tofu. For a vegetarian option, you can saute a side of shiitake mushrooms. Or if you're going out to dinner and you see oysters as an option for an appetizer, go for it. Quick pro tip is, if you want to increase your body's ability to absorb plant-based sources of zinc from foods, if you cook them with garlic and onions, it actually helps to increase your absorption of zinc. Okay, our next nutrient and vitamin that we're going to talk about is vitamin C. And this is probably the most common vitamin that we think of when it comes to of preventing colds and keeping us healthy. And that's because our bodies, again, don't make vitamin C on its own, so we rely on it from the foods that we're eating. It's better to get vitamin C from food, because a lot of the foods that contain vitamin C, which we'll see on the next slide, they have so many other important nutrients as well. So I know I see a lot of people who might be taking a vitamin C supplement, or they ask, should I be taking a vitamin C supplement to keep me healthy? And while you can get a huge boost of vitamin C from that one supplement, what you're doing is you're really isolating it and you're only getting that vitamin C and you're missing out on all of the other nutrients that can be found in in the foods that contain vitamin C. So I would say try and get it from food first. If you find that you are unable or you just don't like a lot of the foods found that contain vitamin C, or if you're a really like a endurance athlete, your vitamin C levels might be a little bit higher. So then you can supplement, but that's something definitely to speak with your doctor with. So why is vitamin C so important? It is great for immune function. Studies have shown that it can help reduce the duration of a cold for the average population and cut the risk of getting a cold by half in highly active people. It protects the cells against oxidative stress. So you probably have heard of the word antioxidant. So that's another way of saying vitamin C rich foods are antioxidants. It's great for bone structure, iron absorption, and healthy skin. So vitamin C, if you are trying to boost your level of iron, if you add a little bit of vitamin C, like if you're eating an iron fortified cereal and you add a small glass of orange juice with it, it will help increase your ability to absorb iron as well. The recommended daily allowance for men is 90 milligrams per day, and for women it's 75, not to exceed more than 2,000 milligrams a day consistently. So what are some foods that are high in vitamin C? You can see it's a lot of fruits and vegetables. Guavas, 1 cup contains 377 milligrams. Kiwis, bell peppers, strawberries, a cup of oranges is almost 100 milligrams. Papaya, broccoli, tomatoes, snow peas, and kale. So again, nice one to screenshot here to kind of take a closer look and see, like what are some things that I don't normally have. Like I love kiwis, but I don't think to order them all the time when I'm getting my groceries for the week. So I'm going to add those to the list. Or bell peppers, I could cut those up and add them to a salad or snack on them with some hummus. And so find different ways of how you might like to incorporate them. Okay, here's an example of a day of eating with high vitamin C food. So for breakfast, maybe you do a nice fruit smoothie, or just simply add some of the fruits that were mentioned on the previous slide as a side to whatever you're having. So if you're having a bowl of cereal or a bowl of oatmeal, incorporate some of that fresh fruit, some fresh strawberries cut up, or oranges on the side. For lunch, doing a nice kale salad, using kale as your base, and then whatever toppings that you enjoy. For a snack, doing snow peas or sliced bell peppers with dip. Dinner, making sure that at least half of your plate at dinner consists of fruits and or vegetables. So maybe choosing broccoli as your side dish to incorporate. And then for dessert, you could do chocolate covered strawberries or sliced papaya or sliced kiwi or something to kind of finish the day off with a sweet treat. Okay. Moving on to vitamin A. So this is also known as the anti-inflammation vitamin. It really helps regulate the immune system and fight infection because it supports skin and tissue health. It plays a vital role in maintaining our body's natural defenses. Vitamin A can be found in both animal and plant-based foods. And the recommended daily amount of vitamin A for adult men is 900 micrograms. 700 micrograms for adult women, not to exceed 3,000 micrograms. So let's take a look at some vitamin A rich foods here. So what I think of when it comes to, am I incorporating vitamin A? If you've ever heard the Skittles tagline, which is taste the rainbow or eating the rainbow, trying to incorporate really colorful foods onto your plate. So foods that contain vitamin A are usually red, orange, yellow, and green food. So I've got my vitamin A shirt on for today. So you can see what kind of foods you can incorporate. Carrots, butternut squash, sweet potato, bell peppers, those kind of fit in that orange category. Green foods like spinach, lettuce, broccoli, pink grapefruit for a nice like pinkish red hue. Bell peppers come in red, orange, yellow, or green. So you're going to get your vitamin A there. Another one on here, the number 2 is tuna. So a great also alternative to incorporating, a fish-based protein into your diet. So let's take a look at some specific examples of how to incorporate these foods. I'll keep this up just a little longer if you want to do a quick screenshot so that you can think, how can I incorporate something on here that I don't normally incorporate? So a sample day of vitamin A rich foods would be incorporating grapefruit or cantaloupe with your normal breakfast. I would recommend probably a bigger breakfast than just grapefruit or cantaloupe, but incorporating it always as like a nice side. For lunch, doing a butternut squash soup. Again, if you don't want to make butternut squash soup at home, if you're super busy, I really like the Pacific brands soups, and they have a really good butternut squash one there that I like. With that butternut squash soup, maybe you do a spinach salad on the side with some tuna. For snack, baby carrots, incorporating that vitamin A rich food, the plant-based vitamin A. And then for dinner, these 3 things would hit all of your vitamin A needs. So you get a grilled tuna steaks with baked sweet potato as your starch, and then broccoli as your vegetable. So you can see how easy it is to kind of incorporate these in your day-to-day routine. And just to make a note, if you were on the webinar from last time, we talked a lot about building your balanced plate, which is filling your plate, 50% fruits and vegetables, 25% protein, 25% starches. So if you're working really hard on incorporating that 50% of your plate fruits and vegetables, you're going to be hitting that zinc, vitamin A, and vitamin C very easily. So you typically won't need to supplement. Again, if there are certain foods that you see on here that you don't get enough of, you might need to supplement, but it actually can be very easy to get what you need through food sources. Okay, now let's move on to our last important nutrient here. So this is going to be probiotics and prebiotics. So 70% of our entire immune system is actually based in our gut. So that means if you want to improve your immunity, supporting our gut health should be a really big priority. I know gut health is a very on-trend topic right now, which makes it actually very good because you can find a lot more foods that are labeled to tell you this is a probiotic or this is a prebiotic. But basically what happens is inside everyone's gut, we have a huge number of tiny microorganisms, and that's called our microbiome. Ideally, this microbiome should be filled with really good bacteria, which is known as probiotics. And this good gut bacteria, what it's going to do is it's going to provide that defense that we need against unwanted bacteria and viruses. And it also prevents bad bacteria from helping to enhance the immune response, which means like when our body does get sick, that immune response works extra hard. So we feel super fatigued and all of that. So if your good gut bacteria is lacking, then you're a lot more at risk for picking up infections such as the cold and flu. So again, probiotics and prebiotics, they're essential for gut health. That good gut bacteria enhances the immune response, reduces inflammation. It also helps to help your body digest food better. So you're better able to absorb those 3 nutrients, that zinc, vitamin A, and vitamin C that we talked about. It can actually help good gut health, and probiotics can help you create vitamins. So vitamin B and vitamin K, so we can increase our ability to make those vitamins in our body, and it helps you break down and absorb nutrients. So I know that I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic? How do I know, is one better than the other? Should I be focusing on one or the other? So just a quick kind of definition of each. So the probiotics, again, they're beneficial bacteria that are found in certain foods or supplements. And prebiotics are a type of fiber that feed this friendly bacteria in the digestive system. So there are lots of ways that you can naturally increase your levels of good bacteria and optimize that gut health, whether it's increasing your fiber intake, which is found mostly in whole grains, beans, fruits and vegetables, and then eating these pre and probiotic filled foods that you see on this slide here. So probiotics can come in lots of different shapes and sizes. You can get it from yogurt. So if you notice, yogurt has come up on this list quite a few times now. You get your zinc, you're getting your probiotics here. Kefir, it's a fermented milk-based beverage. Sauerkraut, so you can add something like this to sandwiches or salads. Tempeh is a fermented soybean patty, so it's a nice higher protein vegetarian option. Kimchi, which is a traditional Korean fermented cabbage. Miso soup, kombucha, which is a fermented green tea based beverage. For anybody who finds that they drink a lot of soda, kombucha can actually be a nice soda replacement because it's fizzy, it's a little sweet. So that can be a nice way to kind of maybe transition or replace one of your sodas in a day with a kombucha to also boost gut health. Pickles, a really nice thing to just add to the side of a lunch. Select cheeses like Gouda, mozzarella, cheddar, cottage cheese. Brine cured olives is another one, and sourdough bread. If you choose to use a probiotic supplement, be sure that it includes lactobacillus strains, because these were found to be the most effective for fighting the common cold and flu-like respiratory infections. And look for brands with 1 billion to 10 billion CFUs of probiotics. I know that sounds like a lot, but yeah, 10 billion CFUs of probiotics can be really good for maintaining really good gut health. So probiotics, again, they feed on the non-digestible carbohydrates called prebiotics. So that's this other category over here. And this process really encourages good bacteria to multiply in the gut. So people who want to enhance their gut health can maybe include some of these foods: asparagus, bananas, chicory root, garlic, and onions. So I mentioned eating garlic and onions can also boost your absorption of zinc. So incorporating a zinc-rich food with some garlic and onion, you'd get both prebiotics and greater zinc absorption. Whole grains, so brown rice, whole wheat breads, whole wheat pastas, oats, oatmeal, apples, cocoa, flax seeds, seaweed, and trying to aim for about 10 grams of prebiotics. You could do more as well, but that's just a general goal. So what does that look like in terms of a day of eating here? So that might be oatmeal. So again, you get that prebiotic and the zinc, because oats are a nice source of zinc as well. You can add some flax seeds and banana. For lunch, maybe you do a sandwich on sourdough bread, which would be contains probiotics, with a side of pickles, which would be another probiotic, and sliced apple, which is a prebiotic. For a snack, doing a nice yogurt. Then for dinner, say you're ordering sushi, a really good order for gut health would be ordering a miso soup, a seaweed salad, and some sushi, maybe with some brown rice. For dessert, you could do something like cocoa dusted almonds. Cocoa, as I mentioned, contains prebiotics. So you can either make your own, it's pretty easy, or I really liked the brand called Skinny Dipped, and they have like cocoa dusted almonds that are really good. All right, so we've talked about the 4 immune boosting nutrients. So now I want to talk about just 3 bonus lifestyle habits and that impact our immune system, and also actionable items that you can, and actionable steps that you can take right away to improve immunity. So the first one is going to be sleep. So sleep, and research continues to show that sleep really is going to have a powerful impact on our immune function. And the reason for this is because sleep loss is going to reduce our body's ability to produce antibodies, which helps us fight off disease. So therefore, we're more likely to get sick. The average amount of sleep reported in working adults is about 6.5 hours per night. But sleep experts recommend an average of 7 hours or more of sleep per night for optimal health. I will add a little like parentheses here. They have found that certain inherited genes can impact the amount of sleep each person needs. So if you know that person that can like function at top notch with only 4 hours of sleep, that might be why. Or if you're that person who's like, everyone keeps telling me I need 8 hours of sleep, but I feel great with 4, that could be an inherited gene. So I think more research needs to be done on that, but I thought that that was kind of an interesting thing to note. How can we improve our sleep? So the first thing we want to focus on is thinking about what's the current condition of your bedroom. So can we work on improving the temperature, sound, light, and certain scents that might create a more relaxing environment that allows us to sleep better. So for temperature, for example, the optimal temperature for sleep is about 65 degrees. For sound, thinking about, if you're somebody who's very sensitive to sound and can't sleep, if you hear loud noises, thinking about maybe noise blocking curtains or using a sound machine. For light, our circadian rhythms, which really guide our sleep and wake cycles, they're heavily influenced by natural light and darkness. So when we are outside during the day and we see sunlight, our brain produces cortisol, which is the hormone that really helps us stay alert and energized and awake. And at night, when it gets dark, our brain produces melatonin, which is another hormone to make us feel tired and relaxed. So if we are staring at screens like all the way up until we go to bed, we're getting that blue light, which can stimulate to our brain to stay awake. So if you can, if it's possible, try to turn off screens at least 30 minutes before bed. If that's not possible, a few things you can do if you're on an iPad or an iPhone is you can actually change your phone to the nighttime setting, which will reduce that blue light. So if you have an iPhone, you would just go to settings, display and brightness, and then select night shift. And you can actually schedule a time for that night shift to turn on automatically, and that adjusts the color of your iPhone or your iPad. There are also blue light blocking glasses if you're a big TV watcher at night as well. In terms of smells, so certain smells can make you naturally feel more relaxed. Some studies have shown that lavender, for example, can improve your sleep quality. So having a little ritual of keeping a little like lavender essential oil next to your bed, and you can spray it on your pillow right before bed, or put some on your wrists and just smell right before you get into bed to signal to your body that, okay, it's time to shut down, it's time to relax, it's time to get into sleep mode. And the great thing about doing something like a smell is we know when we smell something, it triggers a memory or a response for many of us. So if we smell this lavender and that our bodies start to associate, okay, the smell of lavender means it's time to go to sleep, you've created a habit or a response in your body that when it smells that, it will automatically start to learn that it's time to shut down and go to sleep. Then second action step is just to create a consistent sleep routine. If some nights you're going to bed at 8 p.m. and another night you're going to bed at 2 a.m., your body doesn't know what it's supposed to expect. So if you can, as much as possible, try and keep within an hour or so of a consistent bedtime routine. Something that can be really helpful is setting an alarm 30 minutes before you need to be asleep. So it signals to your body, okay, I have 30 minutes. I probably can't watch that show, one more episode of this show that I'm watching. I'm going to take this 30 minutes to really turn off electronics, maybe have a cup of herbal tea, or put out my clothes and pack my bag for the next day so I'm prepared. I'm going to start dimming the lights. Maybe I read for 10 minutes before bed or listen to relaxing music. And whatever it is for you, we can all have different routines. There's no one size fits all. And it could just be as simple as 30 minutes before bed, you turn off electronics and then go to sleep. If you're somebody that their mind tends to race, I hear from a lot of people that they'll wake up in the middle of the night and they feel like their to-do list is running in their head. A simple tool for that might be just keeping like a notebook next to your bed and just like quickly writing out whatever you're thinking when you wake up in the middle of the night, because the reality is you can't take action on it right away. So if you just write it down, you're getting it out of your head onto paper, and you can address it first thing tomorrow. Okay, the next one is movement and immunity. So exercise is always going to make our immune system function better. It helps our body respond to viruses more quickly, meaning our immune response can really respond more quickly to viruses to protect us against germs turning into a cold or a flu. Physical activity also helps us develop a stronger antibody response so that we're better protected. Just an important thing with movement here, it doesn't need to be a high intensity workout or a 90-minute run. In fact, sometimes that really high intensity activity can increase those cortisol and stress hormones. So I really am a believer of finding exercise that you can enjoy and do consistently, whether that's walking, yoga, strength training, or body weight training, hiking, biking, swimming. If you're an active gardener, that can also be movement. If you're a beginner, start with 10 minutes and really work your way up. It's more important that you build that habit of showing up for 10 minutes. And then eventually the recommended amount of time we should be moderately active in a week is about 150 minutes. So that could be 30 minutes 5 times a week, or it could be 2 one-hour workouts in a week plus a 30-minute workout. And I was hesitant to even include that number because if it's difficult to hit 150 minutes of exercise with your busy schedule, just remind yourself to do what you can, to just show up. If you don't hit that 150 minutes of exercise in a week, that is fine. If you're hitting 30 minutes or 60 minutes in a week, that is great, and that can make a difference. So focus really on doing what you can and finding exercise that you enjoy, because that means you'll be more consistent and able to sustain that routine. Okay, and then the last one is stress and immunity. So when we're stressed, our immune system's ability to fight diseases really gets impacted, and that's why we become more susceptible to infections. The stress hormone that can suppress the stress hormone gets released when we're stressed, and that can suppress the effectiveness of our immune system because it lowers the number of cells that protect us or fight off disease. Stress can also have an indirect effect on our immune systems because sometimes people may use unhealthy behavioral coping strategies to reduce their stress. You might see more drinking, smoking, not exercising, not eating very well. So 2 quick action steps that you can take to reduce stress. And I'll say, everyone has their own ideas for what really reduces stress for them. So, I might say, oh, meditate. And you might say, oh, I am definitely not a meditator. So think of the things that relax and talking or getting outside in nature, whatever it is. But these are just 2 that I want to briefly touch upon. But again, you can create your own self-care and stress resiliency routine. So the first one I have here is cultivate a resilient mindset. So what I mean by that is resiliency is the ability, it's not the absence of stress. Stress will probably, for many of us, always be there. What resiliency is the ability to bounce back or overcome obstacles and challenges. What it means is, as a resilient person, you have the tools and mindset to recover from setbacks and adapt to challenging circumstances, so that you're able to really thrive and find a sense of calm, or at least ability to embrace the chaos. So some characteristics of resilient behavior would be viewing setbacks as temporary, reframing setbacks as opportunities for growth. So if you didn't get a promotion you felt you deserved, maybe that's going to open the doors to join a different team within your company and learn and expand a new skill set. Recognizing false beliefs. So if you tell yourself you're a horrible public speaker, you'll probably always be terrified to speak in public. It's important to recognize where you notice some negative self-talk creeping in and reframe it into a positive, or at least fake it till you make it. And really just starting to talk to yourself in a way that you would a good friend. managing strong emotions and impulses. So instead of being reactive and possibly regretting your actions, really taking the time to allow yourself to calm down, gain perspective, gather your thoughts, and then present them in a way that's productive rather than destructive. Focusing on events that you can control versus those that you cannot. So I like to use the example, if you're stuck in traffic and you can't go anywhere, you can either be blasting your horn and having intense road rage, or you can say, you know what, I really cannot control this. So I might as well just say, you know what, I'm going to turn on a podcast and just enjoy this time in the car that I have to myself. And then lastly, having a positive outlook on the future and developing a growth mindset. There's always room to grow, learn, improve, things to be excited about. And even if that's committing to adding just tiny sprinkles of joy into your life in small ways, that can really, just by the power and knowing that you have control of your future and having that positive outlook on your future and having that growth mindset, can make a really big difference in how you handle stress. So that's something that's definitely something to work on over time and try and implement slowly into your day-to-day. It probably won't change overnight, but just to be able to think about some of those points that I just made and think, can I implement one of these? And then lastly, deep breathing exercises. So I thought we'd end today's session with just a 1-minute breathing exercise that you can easily incorporate at work, at home, in the middle of your day, before bed, whenever. You'll actually notice as we're doing it, your entire body will start to relax. You can feel stress levels go down. So I'm just going to implement this here. Feel free to join along. I'd love if you did. I'm just going to have you you're going to sit back or get into a comfortable seated position. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to notice where you're holding stress. So if your shoulders are way up here, I want you to just relax them. If you're holding stress in your jaw, really just kind of open your mouth and just release that tension. Let your hands relax. Don't keep them clenched in a fist. Just let them relax. And now I want you to take a deep inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now let it go. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do one more. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let it go. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now open your eyes and think about how you feel and notice your body's response. A lot of times when we get stressed, we take really short breaths. We don't take full breaths. We need oxygen flowing through our bodies. So just we literally did 3 inhales and exhales. And I know when I do it, I feel lighter. I feel more energized. So this is something like midday, if you are feeling drained, just do one of these quick exercises. No one even has to know you're doing them. You can keep your eyes open. You don't have to close them. And you can see, oh, I have a new tool in my toolbox for when I do feel that stress coming on. I now have something I can do in 30 seconds or 1 minute to just kind of reduce my cortisol levels. So just want to end on a healthy outside starts from the inside. So incorporating these nutritional vitamins and micronutrients and minerals into our diet, that vitamin A, C, zinc, and the probiotics and prebiotics, and then thinking about how stress, sleep, and movement are part of your daily life. And if it feels overwhelming to focus on all 3, take one and say, I'm really going to commit to getting better sleep or more consistent sleep, and start to see how your body reacts to those changes. So that's all I have, and I'd love to open it up to any questions from the chat box that I can answer.
Thanks, Kristen. So we do have a couple questions that came in. We'll just start right off. First one is, what are your views on cooked versus raw vegetables? And in terms of vitamin and mineral content?
Yep, so that's a great question. So, if you're eating, there are a lot of different ways to answer this. So if we're taking raw, uncooked foods, you're definitely going to get nutrients from that, but it depends on how fresh you're eating. If you're eating it fresh out of the garden, you're probably going to get its peak nutrients. If it's been sitting in a grocery store for an extended period of time, the nutrients will go down over time. But I would say if like eating a salad with a lot of, cut up or fresh kale or cut up carrots and all of that, eating it raw, you're definitely going to get a good ability to absorb nutrients. For some people, eating raw vegetables can be really hard to digest. So if you are that person, you can absolutely still cook your food and get the nutrients. Boiling does tend to, a lot of the nutrients end up seeping out into the water. So the one thing I would say is to just watch boiling vegetables, but using frozen vegetables, we talked about in the last session, a lot of frozen vegetables, they're frozen at their peak freshness. So if you heat them up, they don't lose all of their nutrients unless you're way overcooking them or boiling them, for example.
Great. Next one is, can you recommend a probiotic supplement? And is refrigerated better than shelf?
Great questions. So for probiotic, I don't have a specific brand that I recommend. I like the Align prebiotic. I find that one hits a lot of the recommendations that I have made in terms of the number of CFUs, good quality. In terms of refrigerated or not, there's no one isn't better than the other. So for example, there is a brand, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but if the person wants to shoot me an email, I can get that to her or him. But the probiotic does not need to be refrigerated because it contains all natural things so it doesn't need to be refrigerated, but some do need to be refrigerated. So there really isn't one better than the other. You just want to make sure that you're using a brand that is well regarded.
Great. And changing directions here a little bit, can you speak towards how vitamin D might play a role in immunity? This person's comments here that there were a few studies that suggested that people with higher levels of vitamin D, for example, had better outcomes if they, were to catch COVID. They had better outcomes for that.
Yes, I was actually going to include that one in this presentation, but when I was doing further research on it, if you look at, there are definitely some studies that show that, but there wasn't enough conclusive evidence where most like medical, medical research facilities will not say for certain, because COVID is relatively new. It's been 2 years. There isn't enough scientific data to show. So the data wasn't sufficient enough to prove that vitamin D plays a role. But regardless, vitamin D is a great vitamin to be either supplementing, because we don't get it easily from food. We get it mostly from sunlight, but there are fortified foods like eggs and milk and plant-based milks that are fortified with vitamin D. So I was going to include that one on here. And then when I was really doing further research, I just didn't feel like there was enough evidence to say for certain that this was a nutrient that could, protect us from COVID or improve outcomes.
So for dietary supplements, what does someone look for to ensure that it's a quality product? Are there certain things that they should be doing or researching or even looking for on the packaging to know that this is a quality product?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The thing with supplements is that at this point, they're not really regulated by the FDA. So what I would recommend is just looking for and doing research on supplements that your doctor would recommend or a dietitian would recommend. For example, like nature-made vitamins. I've done research on to see similar, like what are the best nutrients or the best vitamin supplements. I know nature-made, is it nature-made or nature path? Now I'm confused. I think maybe nature's path vitamins. Those you can find at just most of your convenience stores, CVS, Duane Reade, Walgreens. But you just want to make sure that it's hitting, depending on what your goals are, like a standard multivitamin, for example. You want to make sure it's including those nutrients that our bodies don't naturally make, that we might not be getting from foods. If you're taking a prenatal, for example, you want to make sure that that has a boost in other nutrients like your folic acid level, omega. You want to make sure you're taking omega-3s, vitamin D, things like that. So it really depends on what your goals are. But I'm happy if that person wants to email me with more questions. If they have a specific thing that they're looking for in general, I can help with that.
Great. Next question here. We have someone asking, what are the best vitamins for hair growth?
Hair growth. So that vitamin A is great for skin and hair. Also, biotin is another one. I'm trying to think how to describe it, but collagen powder can be really good actually for skin, hair, and nails. So those would be my three main recommendations: biotin, collagen powder, and then vitamin A.
Awesome. So a couple more minutes here. So another question, a lot of times when we get sick, or one of our first go-tos is to go for the emergency or grab some of those supplements like that. What would you suggest in terms of like, is that a good thing to do? Is going into your cabinet and grabbing that emergency the best thing to do? Or would it be better to eat certain foods, or what are your views on that?
Yeah, I would say the emergencies and all those, they can be really great. What my recommendation would be is take them as soon as you start to feel sick, because if you're at the peak of your sickness, they probably won't be as effective. But if you start to feel that like congested, tired, fatigue, like your body's really fighting against these colds, I'd say that can definitely be helpful. If you want to really boost it, you could also get it naturally with foods, just merely focusing on, eating those nutrients that I mentioned in the webinar, and just really make sure that you're incorporating those and doubling down on those to make sure that you're hitting your needs. But if you feel like, sometimes if you have a sore throat and eating just doesn't really feel great to you, then taking an emergency or those other supplements. I mentioned the like zinc lozenges. Sometimes I'll just take those when I feel a cold coming on, and that can be really helpful.
Awesome. Well, that is it for our questions today. So thank you so much, Kristen, for being with us. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I hope you learned something new. And don't forget to join us in 2 weeks for Secrets to Finding the Time and Motivation to Exercise. And that will be on Monday, March 28th at the same time. So we will see you then. And again, thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.